Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of the Canadian Football Countdown, a surprise Monday afternoon episode here. Episode 305 as the CFL dropped on Sunday that a major announcement for significant game changes was coming on Monday. That took place today at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It is now 3 p.m. Eastern Time, or just a couple minutes afterwards here. Ryan and Mike with you to break it all down. The CFL announcing some significant rule changes to come into place over the next 2 years as a result of trying to refresh the game a little bit and maintain what they say is tradition while also refreshing things. So we'll go through all of the things the CFL announced today. We'll go through how the CFL launched this announcement. We'll go through the speculation that led into it, what could come more as a result of this. Lots of many different things, lots of different reactions, tons of different reactions from everybody throughout the CFL community based on this news that has come out today. Some are celebrating, some are mourning, some are confused, some are everything in between. And that's okay. And that's perfectly fine. And we're here for that as well. So we are live on our YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook pages. Thanks for presenting sponsor Game Time TV, which you can learn more at gametimetv.ca or facebook.com/gametimetvmb. So send in your comments, send in your questions in our live chats for us. Let us know how you feel about the CFL's announcement today as we're going along. And in a little bit time, we'll also open up the phone lines to the Discord community, invite folks from our Discord in here to come and chat with us as well if they are interested in doing so. So if you'd like to join the Discord, the link's in the episode description. It's free to join us there. Mike, not too often. When's the last time we've done a podcast, just you and I? It's been a while, and one where I'm not driving.
Yeah, you know what? It took a major announcement on a Monday afternoon, but hey, it feels like old times for sure.
Yeah, Monday afternoon, the two guys who are available. I mean, Adam said he might join us in a little bit as well. But yeah, good to see you again, Mike. We have lots to talk about here. We're going to dive right into it right away here. Before we do that, as we do on every episode, we do want to acknowledge that the Canadian Football Countdown is brought to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, the homeland of the Métis Nation, as well as from Treaty 4 territory, traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis Nation. All right, let's dive into the CFL's major announcement today. I'll give you a quick overview of the rule changes announced, and then we'll come back and maybe we can go through them one by one, Mike, and talk about them as they came out. But CFL, by my count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, announcing 6 rule changes to take place over the next 2 years. The first one that was touched on by Commissioner Stuart Johnson, the goalpost moving to the back of the end zones in 2027. Currently, they are at the front of the end zones. Along with that, the end zones to shorten from 20 or apparently in some cases 18 yards, or in some cases, cough, cough, Montreal, trapezoids, to a standard 15-yard end zone league-wide in 2027. Along with that, the field shortening from 110 to 100 yards, so the 55-yard line will be no more 2 years from now in the CFL as they shorten the field length. Those are the changes coming in 2027 with some time for stadiums to adjust, because obviously some adjustments will come as a result of this and be necessary. But CFL is also making a few changes in 2026. Starting with the Rouge. The Rouge will no longer be awarded for punt or kick out of end zone in 2026. So the only way you're getting a Rouge is if you tackle the guy in the end zone or if he takes a knee in the end zone. No more winning a game on a missed field goal. The play clock is getting adjusted to an automatic 35-second play clock in 2026, as opposed to the 20-second clock that is manually stopped and started now. And finally, team benches will be mandated to be on opposite sidelines in 2026, which I think a good chunk of stadiums it is, but some stadiums were definitely not. Let's start with your overall reaction, Mike, to today's announcement by the CFL.
Overall, after having a few hours to kind of sit on this, it's good. Based on what I was hearing last night and what I was hearing early this morning from some people. My worst fears have been avoided. Now, um, overall, I feel like the shortened field, yeah, okay, I can get behind that. Uh, I think we were quietly suggesting that a kickoff straight out of bounds or a field goal straight out of bounds in any direction out of the end zone couldn't be a ruse or shouldn't be a ruse, even though it is. I can get behind that. Team benches on the same side. Um, that is good. I know I told you, Ryan, I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of the field goal post into the path. Kind of time around on that because I think the CFL sees the opportunity for extra touchdowns as more of a forward thinking idea than what Trey Babel did on Saturday, returning a missed field goal for a touchdown. Um, although I have to watch the film back, I'm pretty sure Trey Babel still would have been able to run that kick out even under the new rules. So I don't know how much this actually changes. My concern, I guess, would be from a fan base standpoint of okay, if you're moving the end zones either further back or forward, what does this do for sight lines for in the end zone? Um, I don't know if that means more premium seating. I guess to make up for the extra space, which was kind of hinted at by the commissioner. But again, this is the commissioner that has bold ideas. The one thing Ryan that did kind of worry me was he didn't shut the door on becoming a 4-down game at some point. Now, you have made the comment, okay, he's not going to maybe say that for fear of boxing himself in and leaving himself for that opportunity. But I don't believe that there's a more polarizing issue than 3 downs versus 4 downs. Uh, Thankfully, we're not there yet. But I think overall, I think it just goes to show how the world in general doesn't react well to change. Some change is better than others, but based on what I'm seeing online, the majority of people understand, but it's gonna take some getting used to. And I wonder what the trickle down is here. Your sport, minor football, shared stadiums in some of the cases. Like to me, I think this is not even a CFL thing. I think this is a football in Canada suggestion spearheaded by the CFL. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but I expected worse. Am I happy with what we got? Yeah, because it could have been worse, and I might just be that miserable person, but doesn't like certain semblances of what happened. But hey, I didn't like the Winnipeg Jets jerseys when they first came back. 15 years later, they've grown on me. So why can't this be any different?
Yeah, I mean, my overall first reaction to the announcement today is that I think I'm going to be a voice of optimism here on this episode today. I'm warning people of that in advance because that's not maybe what everybody wants to hear right now, right? Like, there are people that are upset about the rule changes. They have their favorite things about the CFL that make it uniquely Canadian, that some, just there's been a lot of discussion in our Discord even going today of some people saying, no, this is a staple for me. You can't get rid of that. And others saying, like, oh, don't really care about that piece, but thank goodness we still have that. And there's a million different opinions out there on all of the different things going on. The reason I have optimism is, again, with you, I think, I was potentially open, honestly, into anything that was going to come out in today's press conference. The biggest key for me was going to be how do they go about announcing it? And I think the announcement itself was very well done. And this might be one of the best like press conferences, situations, publicity things the CFL has ever done, at least in the past decade,
Mhm.
where Stuart Johnson came out and he's been really too quiet over the last however many months that he has been on the job. It's ever since he took the job. We really haven't seen him out there doing a whole lot. He's been working behind the scenes. Now, all of a sudden, boom, big splash coming into week 17, announces it on Sunday. That's all I've seen on social media Sunday through Monday is talk about the CFL news, despite there being no CFL games going on that day. And it drew up a lot of interest and excitement and worry. The way they announced it did bring some worry to it. But I thought the way they came out, the way he, very clearly didn't give us a whole long spiel at the start of it about the history of the league necessarily and all of that, went straight into talking about, here's some exciting plays. Here are some that would have been exciting if it wasn't for the goalposts getting in the way. We're changing the goalposts. Then he moved on to the next topic, provided examples for it, and provided their reasoning for it. And it wasn't just, okay, here's the new rules. Up to you for interpretation why we're doing it. I liked that aspect of it. I really liked the video they showed at the end of it as well, which you can find on the CFL website and CFL socials that showed, a more visual aspect of what they're changing. And so that aspect of it, I really like to the announcement that came today. And then they did the Q&A afterwards as well. So from the get-go, I was pleased with that because I am an analytic thinker, an analytic processor, where if I don't really understand why you're making the decision, I'm going to be a lot less bought into it. Some of these things I really like that they're changing. Some I'm like, well, I'm not so sure about, or some I didn't even think about really until they gave the explanations for it. And they gave me the explanation. I can see why they're doing it, and I'm willing to try it as a result. So I'm optimistic. I'm positive coming out of this press conference. For me, the biggest staples of the CFL would probably be, the 3-down game, the ratio, the wider field, the waggle. Like those are all things that are super niche CFL to me. Things like the 55-yard line, I'm actually surprised it's as big of a topic of discussion as is, because I don't think I've ever had a positive or negative thought about the 55-yard line. It's just been there to me.
It's different. That's one of the differences between Canadian American football, though.
Yes. And that is what I think the people who are upset about today's news are most concerned about, is that we're losing those differences between the game. A lot of talk of, now we're moving over into NFL rules and we're adopting into the NFL culture here. And this coming off the whole Argos and Bills partnership just a week or two ago into it as well. So I get that angle. I get why people are concerned about that, absolutely, because this is the league that's why I love the CFL. A lot of it is how unique it is, and I think it is still unique despite all the changes announced today. And I know there's been a lot of talk also of, well, this is just the beginning, right? Like this is step one based on the reactions to what's happening today. There will be more large changes coming. 4 downs is inevitable. They didn't say no to 4 downs. It's coming. That might very well happen in a couple of years. But to me, that was going to happen regardless of whether the changes announced today are well received or not, right? Like if they want to go that route of 4 down, they're going to go with it regardless of these changes. So I'm choosing to focus on the changes announced today in the vacuum of what they are, which I believe are improvements to the on-field product going into the next couple of seasons. Maybe they're improvements, maybe they're not. It's worth trying out, in my opinion. I don't look at it necessarily from the overall picture of what other changes are coming 5 years from now, because I think those could have happened regardless of today.
That being said, I think the CFL in an offensive game, and I'm going to probably be crucified for saying this, I would love to see a CFL game that has 4 downs, just to see how much does the scoring change. Does it change a lot? Does it change a little? It intrigues me, but the uniqueness is the 3 downs for me. It really forces the issue. I think your scoring goes way up if it's a 4-down game. That's the first thing that kind of comes into my head. Now you get to see, quite honestly, as well, some end zone plays that aren't, necessarily around the goalpost. So does that necessarily lead? I think they said that might lead to, and Ryan, you might have picked up on it. I thought I heard 20 more touchdowns or somewhere in that neighborhood throughout.
60. So
60,
yeah, according
50.
to the league's projections, and I don't know what the kind of analytics went into these numbers, moving the goalpost to the back of the end zones will account for 10% more completions in the end zone and 60 more touchdowns every year.
Overall.
Overall, correct.
That's basically one. Okay, so extrapolated over 21 weeks, 18 games a team. That's 100 and something games. That's about a third of a touchdown more per game, basically.
I think
Give
it
or
might be
take.
more than that. I feel like there's like 80 games a year.
Maybe. But, I mean, think about how close a lot of games are in going into the last 3 minutes of the game, right? Now you add one touchdown one way, right? It's
Right. Yeah, and like things that we're losing, obviously, as a result here of moving the end zone or the goalpost to the back of the end zone, we're losing the missed field goal return in a lot of cases, which is a very exciting play. We saw Trey Vavel do it with the Bombers this week. That was super exciting. We've seen many of those this year. But how often do those plays happen? If I'm taking, an extra touchdown a game potentially versus the exciting missed field goal return,
which
and
happens once every couple games,
and
right?
frankly, if I'm taking more teams going for it on third down, maybe when they're driving well, instead of, oh, we're 9 yards away from the end zone, we could score a touchdown here, but maybe let's kick a 12-yard field goal instead after an eight
Mm-hmm.
play, 70-yard drive. Like, that's not exciting to me. That's a drive killer. A drive goes for, 5 minutes and then you just give up closer to the end zone. Like, I would rather see teams go for it on third down more.
So correct me if I'm wrong. This is adding 15 yards to each field goal now.
It's, I believe, adding only 5 yards because they're shrinking. Or, well, yeah, it's adding 15 yards technically to each field goal, and then they're shrinking the field size accordingly to still contribute to the offense because now it's really only a difference net of 5 yards.
Okay, so then potentially, and play this out with me. You're at the 40-yard line. Okay, that's a 52-yard field goal ish. You're at 3rd and 2. The field goal post is at the back of the end zone. If I'm a coach, I probably have more incentive to try it at 3rd and 2 now, being a yard off the ball.
Yep.
Or is it the other way around, knowing that the field goal can't be run back?
Yeah, it could
Do
go
you
either
not,
way, right?
right? Do you now say, okay, 50-plus yard field goals are going to be the new norm? Hello, Brandon Aubrey.
Hello,
But
Sergio Castillo.
yeah. So like the more I think about this, the more I was all, oh no, this is not gonna work. This is not gonna work. But with some time and perspective, I think the CFL needed to freshen things up. And if this is the way they're going to go about it the next 2 years, I'm all for it. Because hey, we have a commissioner finally, no disrespect to any of the previous guys, who is willing to advance the game based on statistics. If we're in the Jeffrey Orridge, Randy Ambrosi era, to be honest, I don't believe that they are able to think like that outside the box. And I thought it was interesting too, where they said, the board of governors has voted on this, and they were all in favor of it. Okay, then that's enough for me. So
It was
we'll see.
it was unanimous by the Board of Governors as well, and also the CFLPA sent out a notice just a bit ago as well, saying they acknowledged the announcement. There was a lot of talk yesterday. Well, you can't make rule changes without the CFLPA voting on it. But the CFLPA said they were informed about the Board of Governors changes. They respect the rules and structure of the CFL are the responsibility of the Board of Governors. So maybe the CFLPA actually didn't need to vote on these. they were more so informed of it. But it sounds like as long as health and safety of members and their ability to produce are top of mind, then that CFLPA is on board as well. So
I have a question for you, just completely unrelated.
sure.
How do you feel this changes the last 3 minutes of the game?
That is the one rule that I am a little worried about with the play clock changes. And while we go through that, I've opened up the phone lines to the
Yep.
Discord now. So any Discord members who are tuning in live, check the podcast general channel. There's a link there if you'd like to join us, hop on air and discuss. Share your thoughts, share your feeling. People also sharing their thoughts and their comments live in the chat, which is great to see. A range of emotions going on there, I think, as well. But the last 3 minutes of the game, a little worried about the 35-second play clock. Obviously, that's going to lead to less lead changes in the final 2 minutes because teams can just draw out the play clock a little bit more there. And I'm sad to lose that aspect. That's the one change out of all of the things announced today that I'm a little bit iffy on. But I'm happy that we finally have a consistent play clock, because this 20-second play clock that a referee arbitrarily decides to go and whistle in, and it's like, okay, why is it starting now? Why is it not starting now? Anything we can do to make things more consistent, do it. Make the end zones consistent. Make the benches consistent, right? Like half the news announced to me today is just consistency across every game. And that's what I think you need in today's climate, is that level of consistency. So I like that it's a good, even play clock across the board. But 35 seconds, I think, does take a little bit of steam out of the final 3 minutes. You?
But here's the thing, though. Okay, let's say hypothetically speaking here, Ryan, I run a play, okay? You tackle me for a 2-yard loss. That starts at 35 the minute I'm on the ground. So by the time you line up, it's 20 seconds. By the time you get everybody in position, the clock is running. I think it's just more proficiently trying to expedite and get people to the line as fast as possible. And I think that's part of why the benches are on opposite sides now, is you're not running 60 yards if you need to get a substitution in anymore, depending on which side of the stadium your bench is on. So maybe it's not as big of a thing, but what I can see happening is, okay, minute and a half left in the game, team had the first down, no timeouts. Well, game's over. Sorry. But that's no different than a minute left and first down. And it brings a different element of strategy, meaning you have to save your timeouts, meaning no challenges in the first 5 minutes of a football game, right?
Right.
Which is already sort of overblown, because if you did it wrong, you lose a timeout and you'd win 55 minutes with one timeout. I think it brings some element of strategy, I think, because it's not as, because I mean, now more teams are wanting to keep one timeout for the back half of the 3-minute warning, knowing that it is an importance of you have an opportunity to stop the clock once, and stopping a 35-second clock is more valuable now perhaps than a 20-second clock. So it also affects strategy that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the instantly running 35-second play clock, we're not going to see a difference in the real lifetime between plays that much, because that 15 seconds before they would blow in the play or whatever is still there. But my understanding is that play clock is still running at that time. So that 15 seconds that the play clock, or that the game clock wasn't going to run down before, is going to run down. So you are going to see that more. You're going to see less than the NFL still, because we've got 3 downs instead of 4, right? So that's an extra down that they can't run out the clock. Clock is still 5 seconds shorter. But that's the one rule change I'm a little bit iffy on. Interesting question here. I want to pull up from the chat from XFL Mike G. Do you think the changes make the CFL more palatable in the States? Obviously, this is adopting more of an NFL-ish structure with the goalposts and the the field length and things like that. What do you think of that?
My initial reaction to that is, who is your actual audience? Is it Canadians or Americans? It would make it more palatable for sure, but the traditionalists don't like it, and it's the traditionalists that are speaking the loudest right now. I can see the area of concern of, okay, we'd want a 100-yard field. It's a little bit wider still, thank goodness. 35-second play clock. Like, I totally understand this NFL North talk, but I will only get there if I'll only get there if they somehow find a way to introduce American expansion again, which went very bad the first time it happened. Some traditionalists have not stopped reminding me about that, but we have to remember the CFL has not had this amount of seismic change, and I think that if you can get the majority of your players where they're from interested in the game, i.e., most of the players are American, therefore probably most of the people that watch them are American. And right now they're basically under two different sets of rules to an extent, or rules that are tweaked or altered, right? Like the rules, like the play clock. It makes it more, but again, it's Canadiana, right? There's no rouge in the NFL. They still haven't completely abandoned the rouge. That'll always be there. Where I get concerned is if this turns into a 4-down game and all of a sudden this is setting the stage with the UFL merger. That's where you have me very, very concerned. But it sounds like we are a ways off from that happening. And I personally, I do not know too many Americans that watch the CFL that are bent out of shape with the way it is right now.
Right.
I could be wrong, but that I have a largely Canadian following when it comes to this game in particular. I don't know how it's going to be received by Americans. I think from most of them, from what I've heard, they find it interesting. Um, it's different. That's what I've heard. Um, will it make it more? I don't know. I don't know because I think, to be honest, I think there's bigger issues in play than making the game palatable for Americans. I think they need to figure out a way to get the CFL Plus more consistent. I've heard issues in that regard. The preseason games notwithstanding, I think they need to get more games on networks like CBS Sports Network, who has cut their games that they broadcast, rightfully so because of college football, down quite significantly from Labor Day onward. But I also feel like I know this isn't necessarily answering the premise of your question, but I think this is setting the stage for uh, a revamped media outlook and the way we are going to consume CFL. I don't think it's properly come to grasp, and I think the American viewership is going to somehow be tied into all of this when it's all said and done. And it's very interesting, but these changes, the majority of them come in line when there's a new TV deal in 2026. Well, 2027 will be the first year of the new TV deal. It's very, very interesting. The way that's gonna work.
That actually brings me right into what I wanted to discuss next, was that the TV deal with TSN expires at the end of 2026. I think there's no coincidence to the timing of this, that we're seeing some of the changes that they can make going into next year, right? Like the goalpost ones and shortening the end zones and making everything consistent. Maybe they have to move things around with their field setups at some of these stadiums accordingly. So I get that it makes sense to wait until 2027 for those, but we're starting to see things that they think are going to impact things a little bit, like the rouge, like the automatic 35-second play clock that they think is going to help the game flow. There's no coincidence that's coming in 2026. the year before they're going to be having a new deal in place and a new streaming setup. And then also these things like the goalpost moving that they think are going to improve the offense as well, coming in the first year of the new TV deal to get people excited about it. I think there's no coincidence that this is lining up with all of that. And I'm interested to see what that deal is going to look like. I know something I brought up a few times on the podcast lately that really stuck with me from early interviews with Stuart Johnston was his recognition of the CFL game as more than just the on-field product. It's about fantasy. It's about betting as a large part of the community. He has a goal of bringing along season-long CFL fantasy in an official perspective. Looking forward to an announcement on that whenever that comes down the field. So he's trying to make changes in all the aspects of the game. And that's what I would want from a new commissioner, to identify what's working and identify what might not be working or what might not be detrimental to move and could have a positive impact. I'm not going to stand here today and say that the CFL is going to be better next year and in 2027 as a result of these changes, but I'm also not going to go and I'm not doom and gloom and saying this is the end of the CFL as I know it, or this is going to kill anything I enjoy about the CFL. I think these are rather minor tweaks, in my opinion, that they are making with the ones announced today. So I'm kind of that level-headed in the middle guy of I'm not super excited. I'm also not super doom and gloom on what's being announced here today. But we'll see what other changes he announces going forward. Let's talk about the Rouge a little bit, Mike. This one I don't think we've talked about a whole ton. The Rouge no longer being awarded for punt or kick out of the end zone starting in 2026. There was a lot of talk of, are we going to lose the Rouge? Is that what they're getting rid of? This is a modification to it, and I like it. What do you think?
I did not like it at first, but then when he said, we don't want a Grey Cup to be awarded the way Toronto and Saskatchewan happened last year, where I think it was Toronto that hit the ball through the end zone and won a 1-point game on a Rouge. I get it. I get it now. The interesting part he said was, and this kind of correlates to the question, he brought up special teams coordinators in this. And now do punters punt the ball differently, i.e., not as hard, in the hopes that 5 yards deep in the end zone, the returner is forced to grab it, therefore making special teams opportunities out of, well, changing the way you punt. Somebody else texted me immediately after the announcement, said, love the changes. Does this approach how you kick field goals differently? Right? So I mean, it would be interesting to hear from punters particularly, but I don't think it's as simple as, okay, the guy's at the 30-yard line, now it's time to boot it to try to get a single point. I think there's going to be some strategy behind punting, and I think, like it was kind of hinted at, 3rd and 2 in and around midfield now, that might be a goal for it rather than punt, right? So does it translate to more points? We'll see. Should it? Will it? Probably. Although I don't know how DBs feel, because I think suddenly now it just became one extra play that you have to worry about. You know how to play, defense properly. Like you can't drop a guy after 5 yards, kind of thing. It'll be very interesting, and I'm glad, like you said, the fundamentals are still there. The Rouge is a very Canadian thing. This just to me makes a lot of sense. Now that you don't go inside the 40-yard line, okay, your field goal kicker has the wiggle room, to miss the field goal because, he can put it 40 yards wide and it's going to go out of bounds. more times than not, even if he hits it wide, right? So there's that mindset of, okay, we're down by one. We're kicking a field goal. We're guaranteed to go to overtime, even if we miss. Well, now you miss and it goes straight out. No point for you. So it's strategizing the way you handle that part of the game now too, and it becomes more of a go for it versus not. And I think, right, I mean, you and I had this discussion when the defensive pass interference was changed, and there was a lot of complaining about, oh, it's going to be impossible, to play defense in this league. I think this has turned the table just a little bit now, and it's given the offense a bit of an advantage, as much as the defense doesn't like to hear about it. Um, to be honest, I personally would rather watch a 48-45 game over a 13-10 game any day of the week. Um, this is coming from a guy whose fantasy football player, Nathan Ward, went off for X amount of touchdowns and thanks to the captain feature, gets his points doubled. But there's, if it's for the betterment of the game, absolutely. And listen, you didn't change the purest side of the Rouge. Absolutely. If he hits it short and the guy's pinned in the end zone and he can't get out, absolutely, that's a point. Absolutely. So you're not sort of removing the premise of the reward for a special teams unit being able to pin somebody deep. And also, too, the onus is on the returner now to maybe let that ball get out of the end zone instead of picking it up and watching around and waiting to be tackled so that he can get a better, you know? So it's all about strategy, and I'm intrigued how this is going to play out. And we'll see what the 10 yards do as far as scoring from field goals. I know one guy that's very happy about this, and that's Sergio Castilla, because he's going to be trying more field goals.
From his own end zone. No, we're not that far. I mean,
No,
I'll be a little bit sad, right? That I'm a chaos enjoyer, a controlled chaos
yeah,
enjoyer. So like
yeah,
a game where a missed field goal wins the game, I get why they don't want that to happen. I get why they don't want that to happen in the Grey Cup. But I'd be loving if that happened because that's just pure chaos. It's going to make a
it's
media storm, and it's great. I love that aspect of it. But I get why they want to make the change. I want to switch us back to talking about the
yep,
play clock
yep,
because
yeah,
I've been scrolling through social media as we've been going as well, and I think we got some more clarity now from Chris Edwards from TSN. He's one of the head producers of TSN for CFL broadcasters, saying the final 3 minutes won't actually really change at all because the game clock will still only start once the play is blown in, but the 35-second play clock starts immediately. So you still have that time that the refs are getting set up. Basically, he goes on to elaborate, and you can see his tweets at C Edwards TSN on X. He goes on to elaborate that the refs need the time to go and set up, and currently they'll go and take however long that is, and then blow in the play, start the play clock, and it's 20 seconds. So you could get anywhere up to a minute, basically, between plays actually happening in real time. The 35-second play clock starting immediately ensures that every 35 seconds a play is happening, but the game clock won't start until the refs blow it in. So you're
the
not going to
refs are
have
still blowing it in. They're just saying you have a hard and fast 35 seconds to get it in.
correct. Yeah. So that's not going to change running out the clock late in the game at
Okay,
all if that's the case. And I
okay,
choose to kind of have an understanding and believe that, that producer of TSN would be knowledgeable on this because that impacts the broadcast and their
right.
broadcast play clock as well.
No,
So
and listen, Ryan, that puts me at ease with everything about what I just said about my concerns about the last 3 minutes.
me too. Yeah, like that was my one major concern. We do have somebody joining us in the waiting area here. It's not a member. Well, he's technically a member of the Discord community, but he's actually a member of the podcast as well. I know he's out there in the fields having a busy day, harvest time, that time of year. But Adam took some time from the combine here to come in and join us and share his thoughts. Adam, How's life out in the field, man?
I absolutely didn't take any time to get off the combine because I'm still in the combine. If you haven't noticed, I'm literally driving around going ahead to go pick up some swaths. But no, honestly,
can
yeah,
you get
no.
flagged for distracted driving while driving the combine and on the phone with us here? Like,
I mean, I'm going at 3 miles an hour. I don't know if that counts, but okay. Anyway, hey, I just thought I'd come on real quick. We talk about, well, it's an emergency. I have to be on. It's an emergency session. You put it right on the title there, Ryan.
of course, we're happy to have you here. I know you and I have been going back and forth a little bit in our group chat. I think some differences of opinion. I think you bring a different perspective on this here. So give us your initial thoughts, Adam, on what you heard today from the CFL.
Here's my thing about this whole thing. The rules are the rules. You know what? I can live with a few changes. Obviously, you've got to grow the game. I get that. The changes need to be made, whether it be for player safety, whether it be for Cody Fajardo not hitting goalposts anymore for more excitement, whether it be for a Brett Lowther Rouge to win a game. I get that. You want to make the game exciting for everybody. That being said, it's the timing, it's the people that are on the board of governors right now, and it's the slow descend. I still say the wheels are in motion, that there's something going on behind the scenes that nobody's talking about. It's a very strange time of the year to make changes. I think we could all agree with that. It seems as though also this is about 2 weeks after there was a certain announcement on what do you call it, down south with a certain group. So everything really looks kind of fishy to me. That being said, I didn't like how the commissioner answered a question brought up by Justin Dunk about is there ever a chance that this game could go to the four down game, and he wouldn't be committal that this game will never be a 4-down game. Again, the CFL has its certain things that are paramount to the league, right? I think one of those is the 3-down game. One of those things is the waggle, and one of those things to me is the 12th man on the field. Those three things, those are the basic fundamentals of the CFL game. I also said one of those things back in the day was the 55-yard line because that there was a part of CFL. No other league had that. You took that away now, one thing of the big three, or big four that I had. Now all of a sudden, you're saying, okay, the commissioner's a former CFL on TSN producer. That there was owned by Bell Media / MLSE. You've got a board of governors that I still say is being led on by a certain group, mainly the guys that own MLSE. And MLSE has just shown that they really would like to get involved with the NFL. To me, that really stinks. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind some of these rules, Ryan. I like some of these rules. Frankly, I love that they're going to put these guys on separate sidelines. It's about time. That needed to be done. The Rouge, you know what? There's still a chance for a Rouge. I mean, obviously, if a player doesn't return the ball, that's going to make a little bit of excitement, but you're going to see a lot more punts, I think, now because of the field goal area. Like I said, overall, some of the rules I don't mind. I just don't like the stinkiness behind why these rules are changing and when they're changing right now.
Can I offer a bit of a rebuttal?
Go ahead.
What if the only way the CFL survives is some form of American expansion? Let's say you've exhausted all your Canadian options.
Here's my rebuttal on your rebuttal then. Have we
Okay?
ever really gone down to the United States and done a proper job of marketing our game?
No.
So why wouldn't we try with that first besides, oh, well, let's just beat them instead of beat them? I don't say we can we can never beat the NFL. Don't get me wrong. NFL is a $1 billion industry. But I think our game is still better than the NFL. And I think if the U.S. fan base, again, the U.S. fan base has said We don't want another NFL light. Take a look at the USFL. Take a look at the XFL 2 times, 3 times. I don't know how many times the XFL has been down. Check out some of these other spring leagues. They don't go. They aren't. They're essentially trying to be the NFL or be the NFL feeder. And guess what happens to them? The CFL has been around for over 100 years, Mike, and it hasn't died.
Yeah, I struggle with will the CFL survive or not talk, because we've seen so many things over the year. If it hasn't died through anything else it's gone through, if it didn't die through the missed season due to COVID and all that XFL merger nonsense, I don't think any of this is going to kill it. We have the fourth member of the podcast crew joining us here, though. We got the full team here together. I know he's got some strong opinions on the announcements coming out today. So let's welcome Trey into the mix here as well, taking a little bit of a break during his day to let us know. How are you feeling, Trey?
Oh, I'm absolutely pissed off, man. I haven't honestly been honest with you guys. I've been going through a separation with wife number 3, but today's probably the worst day I've had in with the last month or two, because I'm going to miss the 55-yard line. I can get behind the Rouge. I can get behind a couple of things, but the 55 and the goalpost, to me, I don't know, man. It's going to be weird. I was full expecting 4 downs today, and I know a few years ago with the XFL merge thing, I said I'd rather have Blue Bomber football and be 100 yards by 50, 4 downs, whatever. And I do. I mean that. I'd rather have the Blue Bombers take my kids to, but this is not going to be the CFL. I don't know. I'm not happy about it. And they call me a numpty or whatever. I'm not happy about it.
I think there's a perfect range of, I think the 4 of us oddly captures the full range of emotions from CFL fans across social media today, right? Like, some folks are going to be angry with the news that's coming. Some folks are excited about it. Some are kind of in the middle. Some like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And so I think that captures the perspective. You latch onto those things, right? The 55-yard line, the goalpost, stuff like that. Those are things that I don't necessarily don't make huge impact to me. Whereas, the 3 downs versus 4 downs and the Rouge do. So I think everybody is kind of, I think you said it best in our private chat earlier today, Trey, 10 out of 10 people with entirely different perspectives and levels of happiness with what we're hearing today.
Yeah, I got to go back to work, guys. I just want to tell you how much I'm pissed off, and I saw Adam was on, so, if he can talk from a tractor, I can come talk outside for a minute. But have a good show, guys, and yeah, I guess go MLSE, I guess, our new overlords.
All right, catch you later, Trey. Thanks for joining us in here for a little bit. I like his way of ending that. That was great. Where do we want to go next here, guys? We're 48 minutes in, probably going to wrap this up here soon. Any other thoughts? Adam, you jumped in late. Any other thoughts from you that we haven't gotten to yet?
Again, the CFL did a good reasoning of explaining why they're going to some of these rules. I just like I said, I'm not one of these guys that's upset about the rules per se. I don't like seeing pillars of the CFL being taken down. Again, the 4 pillars I'm going to go with are the 55, the 12th man, the Rouge, I could live without, but the 12th man, the 3 downs, and the last one probably, like I said, you can decide on the 4th one. Like I said, the 3 main ones, though, you've got what I've got, right? 55, like I said, you got fundamentals in the CFL that make it the CFL. And if those go missing, then I'd be upset. And one of them I am upset about is the 55-yard line. Like I said, I can live with the 35-second clock, continuous clock, I should say. I think that's not bad. You want to keep the game moving. That's fair. That being said, I hope that they can figure out how to make replay play and do it within 35 seconds. That would be nice, too.
That's not happening.
Well, can we put a clock on the replay, guys? That'd be awesome.
Well, that's my. You know what? Let's go there, and I'll start with you, Adam. Then I'll go to you, Mike. Are you surprised with everything we had announced today that there were no changes made to the command center? Because that always seems like the hottest topic of conversation when it comes to game flow and scoring and reviews and stuff like that. What do you think, Adam?
You know what? I was kind of a little surprised that there wasn't, but again, I think that has to be almost done collectively. Although I think lots of these had to be done collectively too, and somehow they're agreed to. So, yeah, no, I thought that there might have been something with coming with that, but pretty tough to do in the middle of a season, that kind of thing. I could see that coming up though at the end of the year here, that they're going to do something for review changes.
I think honestly, it's just this is gonna probably cause a lot of systemic changes for football in Canada. Because now amateur football is gonna have a chance to look at this, youth sport is gonna have a chance to look at this, and it's gonna give everybody some time to talk about it because there's more stakeholders in some stadiums that are impacted than others. I think issues like the command center, issues like individual rules that only affect the CFL can wait till the off season, and I think that's gonna be a December, January kind of discussion. Whereas I think this also affects the broader football community. Like, is Football Canada now going to turn to these rules? Is U Sport going to turn to these rules? One would suggest yes, because you're not going to ultimately change the goalposts and stuff for each individual game. I know in Winnipeg, when the Bisons play here, that would be a pretty difficult changeover as well. But to me, what was interesting, and I don't know if you caught this, Ryan, or if you caught this, Adam. He said, "Oh, there's going to be more exciting announcements in the next few weeks, as it pertains to business and the way that sort of kind of transpires." Part of me wonders if we haven't seen the full picture of what these changes are going to be. Is it in conjunction with something else? And it's going to be very interesting.
Well, I can
But
touch on that super quick because the CFL on their website have put out a frequently asked
yep,
questions article on the game changes. And at the bottom, it says, will there be more changes to the game? And it says, no further major changes are planned. However, the primary updates will lead to cascading rule adjustments, placement of converts, and kickoff locations, which makes sense because you're changing the field size, you're changing where the field goal is. So there will be some refinements to the rule book, and I'm sure
yep.
we'll hear those at the start of next season, as we always do.
And it's just interesting, right? But I will give Stu Johnston one big round of applause, and that is to have the what to make these changes. I don't know if previous commissioners would have gone down this road. It's clear that he's thought about this, and I'm also not a big fan of we made the change because when I played football at a younger age, this happened to me. I don't think that's a very good example. but but that being said, I think to have a commissioner that is forward thinking, I think for the game as a whole, is very, very encouraging. I don't know too many commissioners, especially in the more recent ones, that would have the fortitude to make the type of decisions and the type of impactful rule changes that we saw today, other than Stuart Johnson, who's now been on both sides of this on TV. He knows exactly what the broadcast end of it is, and maybe more cameras, less cameras, all that stuff. There has to be something said about there's an opportunity here for the commissioner to make his mark on the lead, and he had to, say this is what we're going to do for the betterment of the game. I think he deserves some kudos for that. As much as he's taking some heat, I'm with Adam. I hope this doesn't change into, um, you know, 15 years down the line, a four down game and merging with something else. Because if you start heading down that track, I have 3 messages in my phone from Blue Bombers season ticket holders that have told me if they go to a 4 down game, I am out in much more colorful language. That is some of the fears that were relayed to me this morning. So, again, Adam, I do share some of your concerns, but for the moment, I think, and like I said earlier, I expected worse. I was preparing for worse. I was bracing for worse. Um, who knows? I just, again, you can't forecast what is it going to go 3 years down the line, but hey, at least you had the, to try to suspect some issues that may or may not be arising for various reasons.
Again, I'll give him credit. Yeah, that's nice that he made some changes, and you know what? He didn't just go and try to put his mark on the league. He literally took a branding iron today and put his brand on that league. I mean, let's face it, he did exactly what he thought needed to be done, and I mean, kudos to him. Yeah, he did something that he should have maybe done. I just look at the big picture and I say that this is still a testing gauge, right? A measuring gauge of what the reaction is going to be if we make big changes. This considerably is a big change. So I guarantee the CFL is going to look at this and say, okay, these are the changes that we made. Now, what I'm hoping doesn't happen is that the Board of Governors, namely one in the Board of Governors, goes and says, oh, well, we made these changes, maybe I'll make these changes next. Because again, after a while, if you lose all the fundamentals of being in this Canadian Football League or being a member of the CFL, or you change all the rules in the CFL, eventually you have no game left over, right? I mean, for example, Trey Vavel just got a, 128-yard kick return for a touchdown. Well, guess he might just have the record for a long time, because
that's what I was thinking earlier today too. Yeah, is somebody in the next year or two is going to set an all-time forever CFL record that will not be broken.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It sounds weird because now you're ruining some of your history also with that, right? Because you can't do it anymore. I mean, that being said, in the NFL, there was things that you can't do anymore that you could have done back in the day. But that being said, like I said, the four fundamentals: the waggle, 12th man, 55-yard line, and 3 downs. Those four get touched, there should be trouble. And one was touched. So let's see where this goes. That's all I could say. I mean, maybe there'll be nothing else and for a long time. But like I said, little changes to the rules for one thing, but you can't get rid of the fundamentals.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think that's a good way to sum it up. And what the fundamentals are is different for each person for sure, and nobody's incorrect in what the fundamentals are to them. I think you summed it up though. We got to wait and see at this point, right? Like, will these changes have a positive impact? Will they be more positively or more negatively received than what they are today when we actually see them in implementation on the field? We'll start to see them next season with the Rouge and the play clock and the benches, and then we'll see more so in 2027 with the moving of the end zones, and then whatever other changes transpire from there. And at the end of the day, one of the big things that, no matter how much they change for the CFL, this is my point of levity as we kind of end things off here, is to me, one of the biggest aspects of this league is the approachability, the relatability of the CFL, its players and its coaches and all of that, right? And that's not going to change from the fact that this is a small league. So no matter what changes here, there are elements of the CFL that are unique and will not and cannot be replaced, even if they go and make rule changes. So I think there are some positives. I understand people think there are some negatives from today's too. I can see that perspective of the negatives coming out of it as well. But I think from here, we just kind of got to wait and see what's going to happen with the CFL with these changes. And if they cause a positive improvement, then great. And if they don't, well, shoot. that's all I can say on that. All right. Like, they're going to make them regardless. So hopefully they turn out well. Anybody, before I do the wrap up stuff here, anybody got a final thought? Adam kind of gave his mic. You got anything else?
I do have one final thought. Nothing to do with the rule changing today. Sorry for changing the subject. I have not been on the podcast for a couple weeks. I am not a huge fan of what they did with putting Toronto's home games where they did in Hamilton, in Winnipeg, and and Saskatchewan. I think that's a bad decision all the way around. I think it's a cop out if you ask me. But maybe there was some other reasons, but we were not privy to for why that happened. But we'll see what happens. I think there's no doubt the winds of change are coming, and I would be very shocked. And this is a bold prediction just on the way out, because I like to leave with a bold prediction. So you won't see me probably for a couple months unless more news breaks like this. TSN will not be the exclusive broadcaster of the CFL after 2026. I said that years ago. I'm sticking by it. There's another partner of some kind coming in to broadcast CFL games. Where that is, I don't know, but that's a prediction of mine.
I like it. Sorry, Adam, I cut you off. I saw you did come off mute before, so I'll give you your final thought if you do have an additional one.
Well, first of all, I got to hit an ignore button. Give me 1 second. There we go. Yeah, alarms, everything like that. That's all fun to go with. But that being said, you're right, Ryan. I mean, we got to see where this goes. I mean, could this be a great thing for the CFL, and we'll remember this day as the day when the CFL started turning around? Well, we're going to remember it for something. I don't know which. My opinion, first of all, I think that TSN has the guarantee. Like, you're going to go and tell MLSE, no, we don't want you as a league sponsor or as the host of the CFL. Yeah, I don't see that happening. I could see the rest of the league just saying, okay, yeah, let's go with them because, they're part of us. That being said, I hope that they don't, and I hope that Game Time TV actually gets the sponsorship for TV deal. That would be great. But as long as I get play-by-play duties for the Riders, that's all I ask. Anyways,
we launched a brand new platform yesterday, so open to talking, but we'll see.
Perfect. Well, anyway, you know what? Like I said, I think the biggest thing is you're right, Ryan. We do need to see what's going to change here and what needs to change and what's going to change, and that's going to take time. That being said, I'm still a little bit kind of with the guard up. I mean, like I said, some of the rules are one of them I said was a pillar, and it's gone, which doesn't sit well with me. But, like I said, we got to see how the rules actually play out. Maybe it's going to be for the better of the league. I certainly hope it's not for the worst of the league, because this league's just too new and not new. It's a very old league. I want to keep this league going for as long as humanly possible, so that maybe one day, who knows, maybe even my kids can watch it. I got to run, guys. I got to go and start combining or actually watching what I'm doing here. So we'll talk to you later on.
All right.
The one rule, too, while Adam was talking, that kind of changed my opinion is I think this has killed the kick out. There's absolutely no need for a kick out anymore unless you didn't give up a single.
Oh, like the kicking back and forth situation, the Noel Prefontaine crazy ending. Yeah, you're right there. You know, at the end of the day, while I'm pleased about most of the changes here today, the captain feature still exists in CFL Fantasy, so I'm disappointed.
Yahoo!
That was the one change I wanted to see made. Also, they haven't put Nathan Rourke in the Hall of Fame yet. I was really thinking that was going to be an announcement today, but maybe one day. Anyways, we got to wrap things up here. We'll be back again this week. We got our Week 17 preview, fantasy draft, betting, or weekly CFL fantasy lineup draft, betting picks for each of the games. That should be Wednesday night, but stay tuned on social media or in the Discord community to see if we need to make a change suddenly based on availability, but most likely Wednesday night. On X, you can find us at CF Countdown Pod, on Blue Sky as well, facebook.com/CF Countdown Pod. Also, follow us on social media. Let us know there after the fact too, or in the YouTube comments, what your thoughts are on CFL's rule changes. Check out the Canadian Football Podcast Network as well at CF Pod Network on Twitter, Alternative Football Network at the official AFN on Twitter, or alternativefoootballnetwork.com. Adam's at Adam Stewart 1 on X. Trey is at Trey MB Harness. I'm at Cooper Trooper 42 if you want to find me there. Mike, what do you want to plug here quickly on your way out?
Yep, my new Game Time platform, GameTimeTV.ca, did our first hockey game yesterday. Signal went A-OK. We are ready to rock for Thursday night. You can find me at Game Time TV MB. Not as much on Twitter anymore. I'm a more Instagram kind of guy, but even then, with the hockey season rolling around, I just privatized my Instagram. That's what this world has gotten to. Best thing I ever did for myself. But that being said, I will share some opinions every now and then regarding the CFL game, and just what a mess, what a beautiful mess the standings are this year. But that'll be a discussion for another day. You can find me Facebook, facebook.com/ Game Time TV MB. You can find me on Instagram at Daryl Media Mike, and I'll have some opinions as we get closer to the playoffs for sure.
All right. And if you want to keep the conversation going, link is in the episode description to join our Discord community. There's lots of talk going on about this and everything going on with the CFL every single day there. So it's free to join us over there. Link in the episode description. And finally, thanks for tuning in to this special episode of the podcast. Nice chat with you again, Mike. Nice to have Adam and Trey jump in with some quick thoughts there as well. And whatever podcast platform you're listening on, we appreciate if you do the fun things to help us grow the show. Give us a like, leave your comments, subscribe if you haven't already. Give us that 5-star rating to boost us in the listings there. And share the show with your friends, your non-friends, people who like the new rules, people who hate them. Just share the show with everyone regardless. We always appreciate that. On behalf of Mike, Adam, and Trey, I'm Ryan saying thank you for listening. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.